Let's take a look at another example on how to write the equation of a line using the point-slope form of a line. So recall in the last video and in the last example, we said that anytime you are given a point, or if you have a point and the slope of a line, you can write the equation of that line using the point-slope form. And so let's remind ourselves of what the point-slope form is. The point-slope form of a line is written as y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times the quantity x minus x sub 1, where x sub 1 comma y sub 1, so this point here and this number here and this number here, is a point on the line. And then m, of course, is the slope. Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's see how we can use that to write the equation of this particular line. So we're told that f is a linear function such that f of 3 equals 5 and f of 7 equals negative 4. And we want to write the equation for f. And again, we're told that f is a linear function. So to write the equation, we need two things. We need a point and we need the slope of the line. So notice in this example, we were not given the slope of the line. The only thing that we're given are 2 points. So we're told that f of 3 equals 5 and f of 7 equals negative 4. So if we don't have the slope, this means that we have to go and find it. So before we go and find the slope, let's go ahead and write down our points. Let's remind ourselves of this function notation. So recall that we can write f of x in place of y, meaning that the notation f of x is the output, or it's y, when the input is x. So here, f of 3 equals 5 means that x is 3 and y is 5. So there's our first point on the line. Our second point is given to us as f of 7 equals negative 4. So this means that x is 7 and y is negative 4. So that's the second point on our line. Now that we have 2 points, we can use those 2 points to calculate the slope. So let's remind ourselves of the equation for calculating the slope between 2 points. So recall that the slope between 2 points can be found by taking y sub 2 minusing y sub 1 and dividing that by x sub 2 minus x sub 1, where x sub 1, y sub 1 is a point, and x sub 2 and y sub 2 is another point on the line. So we have 2 points. It doesn't matter which point you call x sub 1, y sub 1, all right? So if I call this x sub 1, then this has to be y sub 1. But I don't have to call this point x sub 1. If I wanted to, I could choose to call this point x sub 1. So you'll find out that it doesn't matter which point you call x sub 1. Just make sure that if I call this x sub 1, 7 is x sub 1, make sure that the negative 4 is then y sub 1. Okay, so then I'll call this x sub 2 and this is y sub 2. Now let's substitute it into our formula for slope, and let's calculate that slope. So that gives me 5 minus negative 4 divided by 3 minus 7. So I have 9 over negative 4. Okay, and you can leave your answer as a fraction like this, or you can convert it to a decimal. It's completely up to you. Okay, so now that we have the slope, to use the point-slope form, all I need is the slope and 1 point. So notice that we have 2 points on the line, but you only need 1, so you can pick. You can either choose to substitute 3 comma 5 into this equation, or you can choose to substitute 7 comma negative 4 into this equation. Since I already notated this point as x sub 1 and y sub 1, I'm going to go ahead and just use this point and substitute it into the point-slope form. Okay, so let me recopy this down below here, and let's do our substitution. Okay, so again, our goal is to write the equation of the line. Okay, let's do our substitution. So I've got y minus, and I'm going to use negative 4. For my y sub 1, we know that the slope is negative 9/4. okay? And then I've got x minus, and I'm going to use 7 for x of 1. And so what we have here is we have the equation of a line written in point-slope form. So this is the point-slope form of the line. But let's go ahead and solve this equation. So let's solve this equation for y so that we can get this equation down into a form that we're more familiar with, which is the slope-intercept form. So let's get it down to the slope-intercept form. And remember, the slope-intercept form looks something like this. It's always some y equals the mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is the y-intercept. Okay, so to do that, all we're going to do is simplify this equation and solve for y. So to simplify, let's first start by distributing the slope to each term inside the parentheses here. And I'm going to go ahead and simplify this too. So negative and a negative, that gives me a positive. So I've got y plus 4 is equal to negative 9/4 x, and then a negative and a negative is a positive. And then we've got 9/4 times 7, so that gives us 63/4, okay? And then our last step is to subtract 4 from both sides. So let's subtract 4 from both sides. On the left here, I've got y equals negative 9/4 x. And let's try and figure out what 63/4, I'm using my calculator here, right, minus 4 is. Okay, and so that gives me positive 47/4. Okay, so we can leave our answer in fraction form like this, or if you'd like to, you can convert these fractions to decimal, and that's perfectly fine, okay? But now we've got a beautiful equation for our line, and if you would like to rewrite this using functional notation, you can call that f of x, and rewrite it as negative 9/4 x plus 47/4. Beautiful.